prepared for an emergency, whether it's a first aid kit, emergency food, water, or supplies. It is not just Hamas reportedly calling for jihad worldwide and to be martyrs. We have much lighter statements, but still reckless and serious, coming from Lindsey Graham, who said we're in a religious war and calls for Israel to level the place. The bloodlust is terrifying and it's palpable, and I think most regular people don't want any of it.
Yeah.
I don't think the Israeli civilians want any of it, and I don't think that the majority of Palestinians want any of it, but conflict is conflict.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't back down. And I don't know what the answer is, but I can tell you this is, this one's scary.
Serious.
I don't like when I hear
Indubitably.
Republicans, anyone for that matter, saying we should be involved, we should intervene, we should go to war. No. Blow back. The actions we take, in my generation, I've not seen a successful intervention by the U.S. It's all been a disaster. So no. But now we have the founding member of Hamas, Khalid Mashal, calling for global jihad. So I hope you are vigilant.
Yeah.
I hope, to whatever
Appreciate
capacity
you, my guy.
capable, you are protecting
Gracias,
yourself,
mi
your friends,
hermano.
your family.
Merci beaucoup,
I
Tim.
recommend looking into Second Amendment provisions. What I mean to say is, like, I can't tell you how to defend yourself, but I think you should do the research and figure it out and find someone who can give you the proper advice on self-defense. American Military News reports the leader and founding member of Hamas, Khalid Mashal, reportedly called for a global jihad on Tuesday, asking Muslims around the world to target the people of Israel on Friday, October 13th.
Odiousness.
So please, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and stay alert.
That's important.
Don't panic. That's the last thing that I want anyone to do.
Yeah.
But I think we should take this stuff seriously.
It should be taken seriously.
I mentioned this. I think I have the clip I can pull up somewhere. We have, let me see if I can find it.
It's not a game. It's
not
a joke.
Short clip from Lindsey Graham.
Look, we're in a religious war here. I am with Israel. Do whatever the hell you have to do to defend yourself. Level the place.
That kind of language is going to result in backlash, blowback. And when you've got Hamas saying global jihad, attack Jews worldwide,
Terrible.
and you've got Lindsey Graham saying level the place, that's the video they're going to play when they justify their attacks on other innocent civilians. Now, I get it. Lindsey Graham, if you want to express support for Israel in this, to defend themselves, that I get. But saying we're in a religious war to level the place is beyond irresponsible for a person in this position.
Okay.
I don't normally do this, but considering the circumstances, head over to safeandreadymeals.com. I do not chat. I'm a big fan. I appreciate their support. They sponsor the show, and we have other sponsors in emergency preparation. But go to safeandreadymeals.com. Pick up your emergency food kit if you've not done so already. These are food buckets that last 25 years. I have many of them. I'm not talking about the apocalypse. I'm just saying, look, sometimes it rains. The water rise, and then how long will the food in your pantry last you? This stuff lasts 25 years. You buy it one time, you store it, you're good. If you have not considered what you will do in the event of an emergency or a crisis, please do so now. With all of the stuff we've seen from 2020, with the lockdowns, with the far left jazz chop, and now we're seeing a dramatic escalation in international conflict. Just don't take my word for it. Figure it out for yourself. SafeandReadyMeals.com, sponsor the show. I only ever shout them out when it's something very serious because I genuinely think you should be prepared for whatever it is. I'm not saying to get 30 years worth of beans and put them in the basement or something, but you can pick these up at SafeandReadyMeals.com. Let's read the story from American Military News, and then we'll look at where we are. Video of Mashal's call to violence was posted on YouTube and remains up on the platform as of Wednesday at 10 a.m. According to a translation and analysis of the video by brother Rashid. Mashal reportedly referred to his proposed day of anger as the Friday of Al-Aqsa flood, which will, quote, send a message of rage to Zionists and to America. The most important thing. He asked all Muslims around the world to carry jihad by their souls, to fight and be martyrs for Al-Aqsa. He wants Muslims to fight against the Jews, starting with Muslims who live in countries surrounding Israel. Or I should explain. He said this is the time for jihad to be applied on the ground rather than just in theory. He asked the mujahideen to go in long caravans. I can't read the rest of this. American military, the Jews, starting with Muslims who live in countries surrounding Israel. Or I should explain. He said this is the time for jihad to be applied on the ground rather than just in theory. He asked the mujahideen to go in long caravans. I can't read the rest of this.
Crazy,
American
bro.
military news is certified by NewsGuard 100 out of 100. The video can be seen up on YouTube, but I will stress I don't speak Arabic, and as much as I played the video, I don't know exactly what he's saying, and we're relying on this translation. That being said, considering the escalation we are seeing, I hope you are all taking this seriously. For most of you, you'll see that. Likely nothing will happen. But the big concern is that our southern border is porous. We've now had many politicians call out that Ron DeSantis and Kevin McCarthy, clearly not a big fan of McCarthy. I am a fan of DeSantis, just not his campaign. But I think it's plain as day to anybody who's looking at a porous border knows that our security is completely compromised. And I have fears about what's going to happen on all days. Friday the 13th? Come on.
Yeah.
Here we are. How has the media played this? It's crazy to see this clip of Lindsey Graham. I mean, even I think I have Matt Walsh here. Matt Walsh tweeting, Lindsey Graham, a sitting U.S. senator, has just casually declared the U.S. is in a holy war. Absolutely reckless and insane. Yeah, I completely agree.
Undoubtedly.
You know, and I recommend you take a look at what Ben Shapiro's been tweeting. I recommend you take everything with a grain of salt. You keep a level head about things. Don't panic. But, dude, so I'm sorry, dude. These videos are undeniable. You got a video of a car that was torched. And there's burned out bodies in it.
Crazy.
That I can't bear. I don't know.
Deplorable.
You know, and I can just try and say, okay, you know, all right, you know, there is a preponderance of evidence to suggest this is likely legit. We need hard confirmation. It's hard to get. I'm sorry, but there are other videos that are completely undeniable. Security camera footage of civilians being shot in their cars. More than one video of this.
Wow.
Of people breaking into homes. The videos of civilians crying and being dragged away. And the celebrations of the far left.
Extremely
This
sad.
is conflict, and it's escalating. And of course, the U.S. is involved. I wish it wasn't true. But the fear is that Hamas supporters, these far leftists, will begin attacking targets around the world, which includes the U.S.
Yes.
And even before Friday, but maybe Friday.
Detestable stuff.
Take a look at this.
Unrighteous.
CBC instructed reporters not to label Hamas terrorists, according to a leaked email. Do not refer to militants, soldiers, or anyone else as terrorists.
That's crazy, bro.
You know, look. There is a time for militants and a time for terrorists.
Hamas people are terrorists, bro.
Soldiers,
It's not a lie. It's not mendacity. It's not a myth that the Hamas people are terroristic. They are terrorists, bro. The indisputable, indubitable, incontrovertible reality, bro.
headlines.
That's not slander. That's not vituperation. That's
militants,
fact.
soldiers, or anyone else as terrorists, the guidelines stated.
That's unquestionably the
There's
reality.
a time for militants and a time for terrorists. For instance, the line stated. You know, look. There is a time for militants and a time for terrorists. For instance, if uniformed soldiers begin a military operation where they're targeting military targets in a coordinated military fashion,
That's a different thing.
that could be Hamas. But when you see them taking a targeted opportunity killing civilians, terrorism.
Deleting
Targeting of civilians is not a military operation.
innocent people.
It's intended to
That's
instill fear
terrorism.
in a civilian population who otherwise could be easily controlled. Seriously.
Two different
This is the thing
things.
about civilians and why you shouldn't kill them. Because they typically are powerless.
Yeah.
When they raided this music festival, they could have just surrounded it, told everyone to sit down, and they would have. They could have said, everyone get your cars and leave, and they would have. Instead, they just decided they're going to kill and capture as many as they can. That's terrorism.
Yes.
They want people there to be terrified.
To DIE.
But these people are not military.
Soulless.
They can be easily removed from this land. The land
Remorseless.
can be reclaimed if that was the issue.
Impenitent.
If Hamas said the land
Unrepentant.
belongs to us, they could have walked up with their guns and leave them. Instead, they killed people.
devoid,
This is what
bereft
you're getting from the corporate
of
press, the mainstream media.
uprightness.
Greg Price is holy issue, can't make this up. The New York Times published a story referring to Hamas as terrorists and then changed it to gunmen.
Crazy, bro.
I'm just highlighting this stuff to tell you, man.
It's the softness
I
of
hope you get what conflict is.
New York
It's not gonna be
Times,
so simple.
of different people, man.
I think you should look at some of the
Different
videos posted
companies.
by Ben. You should absolutely look at videos posted by the left as well. Understand what
The
this conflict
spinelessness,
is and could be, and
the
what conflict in
cowardice,
general.
the failure to say what Hamas really is, bro. A terroristic org.
Letting this stuff to tell you,
Yeah,
man.
the
I hope
spinelessness
you get
is
what conflict
sad,
is.
bro.
It's not going to be so simple. I think you should look at some of the videos posted by Ben. You should absolutely look at videos posted by the left as well. Understand what this conflict is and could be, and what conflict in general will be.
It
Because
is
there's an Andrew Tate
imperative
video I highlighted the other day where he said,
that people be logical.
"You will beg. If this conflict comes to your doorstep, you will beg.
I meant to say that people
right.
bring
You will
logicality.
cry and you will pray that the conflict ends." My favorite book, and he's right. You will cry and you will pray that the conflict ends. And he's right. You will, and could be, and what conflict in general will be. Because there's an Andrew Tate video I highlighted the other day where he said, "You will beg. If this conflict comes to your doorstep, you will beg." And he's right. You will cry and you will pray that the conflict ends. My favorite movie, The Patriot, Mel Gibson. That scene where Mel Gibson's character, what's his name, Benjamin? He says, you know, if you're saying that we should have independence, I agree. We should have, we should not be taxed without, there should be no taxation without representation. I completely agree. But if you're calling for war with Britain, then I absolutely disagree. Mark my words, this war will not be fought on some far-off battlefield. It will be fought in your front yard, in front of your children, and they will learn about these wars with their own eyes. It's an amazing line. It's also interesting to see that his character's unwillingness to engage, ultimately, his children died. He was ill prepared for it. He was right about the conflict. But my point is simply this: that line represents something. It means something. People do not understand just how serious this will be. When Lindsey Graham comes out and says, "Level the place," sure, wealthy, protected, he's got government protection. They'll circle the wagons around him. What does he have to worry about? The regular people of this country and many others are going to bear the brunt of war.
Yep.
I wish I had simple answers for you,
Undoubtedly.
but I do not. I can only tell you to please take care of yourselves and do what you must to protect yourselves, to be prepared,
Awareness.
to survive.
Yep.
So I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m.
Yeah, man. Sagacious. I am looking for the video in which Tim was talking about the BLM Chicago. let me sell I think it's
Black Lives Matter. We have this from ABC.
This might be it. No, this is not it. He was
News. BLM should.
Hold on, is this it? Let me see.
Here we go. We got it. Shri Thanadar was wrong for Israelis to push Palestinians off their land, and I'm just like, this war. I don't have a good answer for you, man. War is bad. It sucks. But the answer today is not to just make the war worse. That seems to be what Hamas wants to do. But anyway, back to the point. Like, otherwise we're going to go in circles. Back to what Black Lives Matter represents. We also have a Democratic Socialist member of Congress. He has quit the DSA and denounced them for their support of all of this. Who was it? Let me
my bad for making y'all wait for that long.
Shri, here we go. We got it. Shri Thanadar.
Yeah, this is the video.
Let's see, Project Troyer, from Michigan, Michigan's 13th district, and he renounces his membership of the DSA, saying, "Today I'm officially renouncing my membership in the DSA after the brutal terror attacks in Israel, which included the indiscriminate murder, rape, and kidnapping of innocent men, women, and children. I can no longer associate with an organization unwilling to call out terror in all its forms." Sunday's hate-filled and anti-Semitic rally in New York City.
Salute to that guy, man. Salute to him for extricating himself from the toxic affiliation connection with the woke DSA, the woke squad, Democratic squad, of which people like Ilhan Omar are members.
Environmental justice and compassionate immigration. My ideals have not changed at all. I strongly believe that ending my association with the DSA, healthcare workers' rights, strong labor unions, equity for communities of color, makes it impossible for me to continue my affiliation. I stand with Israel and its right to defend itself. There is no place for moral equivocation in the face of unadulterated evil, as we have seen from Hamas. I will continue to work towards the goals that brought me to Congress in the first place: universal healthcare, workers' rights, strong labor unions, equity for communities of color, environmental justice. Today I'm officially renouncing my membership in the DSA after the brutal terror attacks in Israel, which included the indiscriminate murder, rape, and kidnapping of innocent men, women, and children. I can no longer associate with an organization unwilling to call out terror in all its forms. Sunday's hate-filled and anti-Semitic rally in New York City, promoted by the New York DSA, makes it impossible for me to continue my affiliation.
This guy is logical.
I stand with Israel and its right to defend itself. There is no place for moral equivocation in the face of unadulterated evil, as we have seen from Hamas. I will continue to work towards the goals that brought me to Congress in the first place: universal healthcare, workers' rights, strong labor unions, equity for communities of color, environmental justice, and compassionate immigration. My ideals have not changed at all. I strongly believe that ending my association with the DSA serves my constituents' interests, as they expect me to represent them by helping to build a better, more just world, not bend the flames of hatred. Shout out to Ryan Long, who put out a video called "The Actor Doesn't Know Whether to Support Palestine or Israel." Because the fascinating thing is, what we're seeing here with Shri, there's another story about a bunch of Harvard students who are being blacklisted, and now they're putting out letters being like, "No, we don't support Palestine. We're so sorry. We're so sorry." The default position for a lot of these people was whatever the narrative
the woke
is,
Harvard
I support,
students.
whatever popular thing is. Black Lives Matter was current thing.
They're corny, bro.
BLM, not just BLM in Chicago, but LA came out in defense.
I meant to say they were on that corny tongue. Yeah, they went back on what they said, but
was current thing. We support it. BLM, not just BLM in Chicago, but LA came out in defense of students who are being blacklisted, and now they're putting out letters being like, "No, we don't support Palestine. We're so sorry. We're so sorry." The default position for a lot of these people was whatever the narrative is, I support. Whatever popular thing is. Black Lives Matter was current thing. We support it. BLM, not just BLM in Chicago, but LA came out in defense of what Hamas did.
Indianapolis.
And now, if you tweet in support of get canceled. These people don't have convictions, don't have
No
morals,
principles,
and were marching in lockstep with what they thought was the power
no
structure.
scruples, no integrity,
That
no
meant when
honorability, no
atrocities
laudability.
occurred with on video, and we see innocent people being paraded around, murdered, kidnapped, etc.
They embody
They ignore that and
spinelessness.
say it doesn't matter.
Spinelessness.
BLM is popular thing. Think about that. I want to reiterate that because that explains the culture war so well.
They are
For all of
unquestioning.
us, we can sit here and be like, man, it's really bad when
They
civilians die,
blindly
whatever,
believe
but
everything,
like, what Hamas did is horrifying, it's atrocious. We
everything
don't want war.
they hear.
I'm skeptical of
And
these
to
business
read.
stories. The babies really
They
bad
don't.
fancy stuff. We try to be reasonable.
They
So many
idolize.
actors, members of Congress,
They
Harvard
idolize
students,
corny people.
knowing these videos emerged, thought, but the left is in power, so I will just agree with whatever they
Just
say.
because they are
And what
democratic, that's not good. That's not wise.
Regular people were like,
That's not
bro,
judicious.
you just offended
They don't.
bad
Yeah.
fancy stuff. We try to be reasonable. So many actors,
Over
members of
credulous,
Congress,
naive.
Harvard students, knowing these videos emerged, thought, but the left is in power, so
Simply
I will just agree with whatever they say.
obsequious.
And what happened? Major backlash.
Woke students,
Regular
woke
people were
college.
like, bro, you just
college
defended literal
students.
terror attacks on
Yeah,
innocent civilians.
That's what they did. They
People that are
defended
obsessed with domestic
extremism.
politics and have no idea what's going on geopolitically. Gotta
Mm.
know.
Well,
You're
and
gonna speak
I think in this case it's important to note that Black Lives Matter is essentially saying the tactics Hamas use are justified, right? If you have a political
Condonable.
movement within the United
That's
States
the
that
canard
says essentially
that
using
BLM
civilians as pawns, harming them to get your political
brought.
ends is
Or-
worth doing.
or
That's a
I meant to
very
say
significant statement
said.
to take, right? We know the Black Lives Matter movement often end in riots and violence.
Yep.
The fact
Gratuitous
that they're lining up behind
rioting,
this kind of action
criminality,
is something we should all be
criminality,
extremely wary of.
illegality under the
Additional
guise
violence
of
means an end.
anti-racism, anti-bigotry.
Is something we should all be extremely wary of.
Yeah, this year
Shout out to the
violence
people who
means an end.
who
Loss of
spoke
control.
out against the fakeness. Shout out to Andy No. Shout out to Amala Epinobi, Brandon Tatum, ABL, Brett Cooper, everybody that spoke out against it.
Is something we should all be extremely wary of.
Yeah, this year violent means to an end.
Yeah.
Loss of control.
Is something we should all be extremely wary of.
Yeah, this year violent means to an end. Loss of control.
Horrible.
Domestic politics and have no idea what's going on geopolitically. Gotta know both.
Well,
You're
and
gonna speak
I think
out.
in this case it's important to note that Black Lives Matter is essentially saying the tactics Hamas use are justified, right? If you have a political movement within the United States that says essentially using civilians as pawns, harming them to get your political ends
Yep.
is worth doing. That's a very significant statement to take, right? We
Yeah.
know the Black Lives Matter movement often end in riots and violence.
Detrimental,
the fact that they're lining
deleterious,
up behind this kind of action is
is
something we
odious,
should all be extremely wary of.
is
Yeah, this year violent means to an end.
uncondonable.
Loss of control.
And they're confirming it on a geopolitical stage.
Yep.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people
Saying,
showed their
we
true
don't have
colors.
all this thing as though we're peaceful
When
movement.
people
And I think Tim's totally right.
show their true
Ultimately,
colors,
you know,
believe them,
people don't
believe
know enough
them.
about these
That's
issues
one of the
to
realest
be able to
quotes.
say definitively how they feel about it, but they know they're supposed to say something. That's why Ryan Long's video
Woke
is
is-
so
woke
so
is-
funny. He knows
It's
he's
a
supposed to say
disease.
can't. He just doesn't
It's
know
a
what
blight.
it is because he takes excuse for everyone around
A
him.
The issue
a
is they don't
cancer.
care. That many of the people who are waving
A lot of
flags
people
and
are
these
dishonest.
pride flags don't know, don't care. All they're really saying is, I support what we view to be the cultural
Fake
and
virtues.
institutional power. And so when the institutional powers do evil things, these people march in lockstep behind them.
Yep.
So it's so funny. He knows he's supposed to take a stand. He just doesn't know what it is because he takes excuse for everyone around him.
The issue is
He has no spine, no backbone. That's what.
Something we should all be extremely wary of.
Yeah, this year violent means to an end. Loss of control.
That's true.
And they're confirming it on a geopolitical stage.
Of course, yeah.
I'm just saying, Miguel Cassav is being as though we're a peaceful movement, and I think Tim's totally right.
Far from
Ultimately,
peaceful.
you know,
BLM
people
org.
don't know enough about these issues to be
It
able
is
to say
in-
definitively
in-
how they feel about it. They know
intolerant,
they're supposed to say something.
bigoted,
That's why Ryan
hateful,
Long's video is so funny. He knows he's supposed to take a stand.
abominable,
He just doesn't know
fraudulent,
what it is because he takes excuse for everyone
execrable
around him.
org.
the issue is they don't
Full
care.
stop.
That many of the people who are waving BLM flags and these progress pride flags don't know, don't care. All they're really saying is, I support what we view to be the cultural and institutional power. And so when the institutional powers do evil things, these people And that's what we talk about. I've mentioned that the Progress Pride flag is akin to the Nazi flag. Not in that it represents the same ideology, but that it represents people blindly marching behind what they view to be power. This shattered that, and now people are panicking. I love this Harvard student organization being like, we never meant this. No, we regret signing this letter in support of Palestine.
Money, because look at our six-figure jobs when we graduate.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because now that they realize they're getting canceled. Right. The only thing they ever cared about was looking like they fit in. Yeah. No morals.
They don't care about the
But there's
truth.
also, and I agree with you, but there's also, I mean, there's this ethos in the
They care more about
I'll say
wokeism.
white liberal, but culturally white, the
White-
Western liberal.
white
I think
guilt
you guys
having
got this too,
people-
they're suddenly horrified. It's this mentality, and it's so
This condescension,
racist. Some of that word so overused.
this
This how to racist they are. If you look at people like
infantilization.
Islamic terrorists, and it's the same way they look at inner city violence in black communities. And they think, and they look at Israel, like Israel's a civilized country, so we hold them to a higher moral standard. We hold them to our moral standard. These
white
third world people,
saviors.
they're stupid.
The white
they're- look at their
saviors,
skin colors, like,
they-
no,
they-
we can't
they believe
expect
that
them to
blacks
be
are
our leader,
incapable
and they're
of
so oppressed. So
bringing,
we can't, we can't, Israel's held to
bringing
they cannot be like this.
civility,
They just don't know any better. And we have to be their custodians. We have to stand up for them.
decorum.
That is, the liberal ethos so much. But then you have more violent ones like BLM and Antifa that actually are like, no, we want some dead bodies.
pro-extremism movements,
It's crazy.
The
movements.
polite progressive
Antifa,
class.
BLM.
That's exactly what it is. And now they're having this moral crisis in both sides.
Yeah. I think that they're going to have a really hard time reconciling this. I think when people want to do the right thing, but they don't actually think about the issues, they just think about what their friends are doing. They have no
Thoughtless.
moral compass. I mean, with these Harvard students, if they really believed what they said, they wouldn't have backed down. Nothing should be worth compromising your values for. But it's not about values. It's about signaling that they have done the right thing.
They
It
don't.
reminds me
They
of,
care more
you know,
about
it's a terrible comparison
wokeism.
to raw, but it reminds me of all
Wokeism.
of the people who suddenly became excited about various causes, like after the Parkland shooting, all these students who were suddenly deeply involved in gun
You should not
violence and
care.
peaceful
You
protests
should
and
not
laws
care
and
more
things
about
colleges because they were
being
signaling that they were behind the right
liked
thing all the
by
time. I mean, that's
everybody.
what got David
You
Hogg,
should care
yes.
more about the truth.
And
That's
to
what
us,
everybody
we're-
should
we're
care
doing
more
the better
about, but
the
not
cause.
everybody
They
does.
really stand by it, but ultimately it was
Priorities.
the level it would help them get it and move forward.
Yeah, of course. Like corporations are just saying the same thing. Well, this is the thing we have to do now.
Thanks for watching this clip from it.
Yeah, that's it. Shout out to everybody that spoke in that video. Straight up and down, it made sense. You got to keep it a buck. You got to keep it a buck.
To say that a journalist, Douglas Murray, best-selling author of War on the West and The Madness of Crowds and The Strange Death of Europe, everything he writes becomes a bestseller, joins us right now. And good afternoon to you, Douglas.
Good afternoon. So good to be
Or
with you.
morning to you, I think, when you are in the States. Thank you so much for joining us. I wish it was under happier circumstances. There's a lot to get through, a lot to talk about. I just want to ask you, first of all, about you've written, of course, as so many people have, about what the horrific events in Israel at the weekend and subsequent events in the aftermath as well. In terms of people's reaction, people on the left in particular, the BBC and others, reaction to the atrocity, the brutality committed by Hamas terrorists in Israel. What do you think it tells us about?
Well, it tells us that there's a certain faction of people in countries like Britain, where I actually am at the moment, who are the simple supporters of genocide, and it's as straightforward as that. There have been protests throughout the
Rubbish.
UK in support of
The
Hamas,
people who support
and I list them actually in this
terrorism
cover piece in this week's
are
Spectator.
rubbish.
Somebody telling a crowd at a pro-Hamas rally in Brighton, for instance,
Brighton
the
in UK.
operations, as you call it, on Saturday in Israel were beautiful. Beautiful. Imagine that.
Wild.
The gunning down of men and women at a music festival.
Unwarranted,
raping of women,
unjustifiable,
bodies of their dead
unlaudable.
friends. This was
Mass
beautiful,
slaughter.
according to people on the British streets.
That's
We
crazy.
had demonstrations outside the Israeli embassy in London by people before Israel had even made any counterattack to the atrocities against the Israeli people on Saturday. I said earlier this week, sometimes a flare goes up and you see exactly where everyone is. And the atrocities of Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, the Navarra media would have been his press unit. These anti-Semites, racists, genocidists are all now in plain view. They celebrate the massacre of Jews. We knew they were there. They've confirmed it.
What do we do about it?
Immoral.
Because you and I are both champions of freedom of speech. I've always been of the view that if people think something as horrific as this, I think it's better that we know it, so we can tackle it, so we can challenge it, and we know what people really are, what is in their hearts, what is in their heads. But how do we tackle this? Because it seems to me that this is something relatively new on the left. This isn't what I associated with the left before. This is the sort of views we associated with the right until only a few years ago.
Yes, well, of course, anti-Semitism shapeshifts. It's one of the extraordinary things about it. I've written about this a lot in the past. It can shift from right to left, left to right to extreme left, and vice versa. It can be religious, it can be ethnic hatred, it can be all sorts of things. It can be hatred of the Jews for not having a state and being stateless. It can be hatred of the Jews for having a state and having statehood. So yes, this is just, the virulent form of anti-Semitism we see in our time in the West is almost always really the radical left, and increasingly on the left, and of course among the Muslim community, very sadly. These last few days, we have seen Muslim organizations again try to justify what has happened, try to put it in context, always that, put it in context, as if there's a context in which the decapitation of some of the 40 babies killed in a single kibbutz in Israel must be understood. These people who say these things, who try to add this context, many of them are simply outing themselves at the moment as supporters of Hamas. And this isn't actually a freedom of speech issue. Through a few years ago, a maniac lone wolf gunman in New Zealand, a disgusting man, went into a mosque and massacred some Muslims. A lot of people, a lot of innocent people.
Wow.
And if in the aftermath of that there had been protests outside New Zealand embassies around the world supporting that gunman, all the Met Police and others would have stepped in within a second. They would have been prosecuted in no time. You know what? That would have been correct. Because it is actually a crime in the UK, as it is in other countries, to support and glorify terror. Glorification of terror is a crime under the 2006 Terrorism Act in the UK. You're not allowed to support Al-Qaeda and be free. You're not allowed to support ISIS and be free. You are not allowed to support Hamas, which is a prescribed
BBC is spineless, bro,
in the UK,
for saying Hamas should not be.
I want the people
Don't call
Hamas
Hamas is not a terroristic, or BBC is bugging. BBC is spineless, soft, weak, afraid, cowardly. Like I said before, it's not slander to say, it's not vituperation, it's not a lie that Hamas is a terroristic, extreme organization, bro. Yeah, what Douglas Murray said was based, was logical, rational. He kept it a buck, bro. Yeah, bro. When people show you their true colors, believe them, bro. Don't be naive. Don't be deluded, bro. Believe them the first time. Believe them the first time, bro. People that are overtly evil, shamelessly evil, boldly, openly evil, openly wicked, openly extreme, radical, terroristic. You gotta salute the overtness, not the evil, but salute the openness. The people that are honest, you gotta salute the honesty, even though they are scourges, cancers. At least they're open. The people that pretend to be good, they're worse. They're worse.